had always been a firm believer in the sanctity of tradition and the purity of values, principles that had been passed down through generations in my family. Growing up in an environment where modesty was cherished and modern temptations were strictly kept at bay, I never imagined that the unchecked influences of the digital age could infiltrate even the most secure of hearts. Yet, as I stand at the crossroads of personal history and modern chaos, I must confess, the misuse of the internet has not only endangered men but has equally ensnared women, subjecting them to a world of explicit images and corrupt ideas that poison their minds. I was once blissfully ignorant of these perils until a chain of life-altering events shattered my naive perceptions and forced me to confront the dire consequences of such exposure. I remember the days leading up to my wedding with a bittersweet clarity. 2 days before the ceremony, a whirlwind of excitement, anxiety, and dreams danced within me. My heart was light, filled with the hope of beginning a new life with Aza, a woman whose every gesture, every word, and every glance had always evoked in me a profound sense of reverence. On that fateful day, I visited a jeweler's shop to purchase a gift that would serve as a token of my love and respect. Seeking advice, I turned to a close friend who remarked, "You shouldn't decide for me. Ask your fiancée what she likes. It's better that you give her a gift of her own choice." His words resonated with me, sparking a realization that even in matters of love, collaboration was key. With a smile and renewed purpose, I exchanged numbers with Aza, something I had not done since our engagement, due to the strict environment that governed her life. For as long as I could remember, Aza had been ensconced within the protective walls of her home. Our interactions had been limited by tradition and familial constraints. Even the sound of her voice had become a rare luxury. Thus, when I finally mustered the courage to call her, my heart pounded with both excitement and trepidation. The conversation began with customary pleasantries and updates on well-being. However, as the call progressed, a prolonged silence ensued before she softly uttered, "Whatever gift you choose, I will be happy with it." That simple declaration, filled with both humility and an undercurrent of unexpected vulnerability, brought an instant rush of joy. I quickly purchased a beautiful locket set, one that I believed would capture the essence of our shared dreams, and secured it safely at home, envisioning the moment when Aza would wear it as a symbol of our union. Yet the joy was ephemeral. As the minutes ticked by and my mind wandered to the promises of tomorrow, the unexpected beep of my mobile phone shattered the tranquility. Aza's number lit up the screen at an hour when few would dare to reach out. A sudden wave of anxiety gripped me. What could compel her to call at such an ungodly time? When I finally answered, her voice, though familiar and soothing, carried a tone of urgency. "I need to talk to you," she said hesitantly. Caught in a crowd and unable to find privacy immediately, I had to wait until I could return her call. In that brief pause, the stillness of the night amplified my unease. Once alone, I dialed her back. Her voice welcomed me once again, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause in the comfort of our shared connection. However, as she began speaking, the conversation took an unforeseen and heart-wrenching turn. In tones laden with a mixture of fear and need, Aza began to articulate a request that I had never imagined she would make, especially not 2 days before our wedding. I struggled to maintain my composure as I urged her to explain further. The shock of her words was overwhelming, rendering me speechless. I clutched the phone tightly, my heart thudding painfully, as the magnitude of her request sank in. All night I lay awake, tormented by a tumult of emotions. Confusion, dread, and an almost paralyzing fear of losing the love I held so dear. The following morning, my appearance bore the unmistakable marks of a sleepless night. Friends, ever quick to tease, joked about my haggard look, likening it to the toll taken by a sleepless vigil kept by an overexcited lover. Their light-hearted banter, however, could not erase the inner turmoil that had gripped me. My mind incessantly replayed the haunting moment on the phone, forcing me to confront an unsettling possibility. What if Aza, influenced by modern desires and a world of unchecked digital indulgence, were to act on that demand? Would her expectations, shaped by secret exposures to forbidden content, ultimately drive her away from the path of our traditional values? The thought was as terrifying as it was inconceivable. Azza was not merely a bride-to-be. She was my cousin, the only daughter of my aunt, cherished and raised in a sanctified bubble of seclusion. Since childhood, I had adored her like a delicate, treasured doll, nurturing within me a love that matured silently over the years. Our relationship, woven with threads of familial respect and tender fondness, had gradually blossomed into an unyielding bond. During our engagement, despite the strict norms that kept us apart, I had found solace in the idea that our connection transcended the ordinary. When I later expressed my desire to marry her, my father was overjoyed, while my mother harbored reservations. She had long envisioned a different match for me. Her niece Tareem, who embodied qualities that diverged sharply from Azza's gentle nature. Tareem's arrival into our household added a complicated layer to my inner life. Initially, when I first saw her, I was struck by her dramatic transformation. Gone was the warm, dusky hue of her childhood. In its place was a pallor reminiscent of finely polished marble. Her eyes, once unassuming, now glimmered with an unsettling alertness that bordered on cunning. Every gesture, every subtle glance, seemed designed to provoke a reaction. It was as though she had embraced a persona far removed from the innocent girl of our past. I could not fathom why my mother held her in such high regard despite these pronounced changes. Tareem's behavior became even more perplexing when I noticed her constant engagement with her mobile phone, as if she were perpetually entangled in a web of secret communications. The pressure from my mother grew as she insisted that our extended family would soon expect us to formalize the match between me and Tareem. Each insistence felt like a tightening noose around my aspirations, and I spent long hours pacing my room, wrestling with the conflicting desires of fulfilling familial obligations and preserving the cherished love I held for Azza. That day, as I wrestled with these turbulent thoughts, a strange noise drew my attention from the confines of my inner turmoil. Stepping cautiously onto the lawn, I was startled to see a shadow moving stealthily in the dim light. With a sense of foreboding I approached, only to witness a sight that would forever haunt me. Tareem, in an act of blatant impropriety, entangled with an unfamiliar young man in a scenario that defied all expectations of decorum. The shock that surged through me was instantaneous and visceral. In a burst of uncontrolled anger, I seized the young man by the collar and began to beat him, my actions driven by a protective instinct and the betrayal I felt. The commotion drew my mother's attention, and she arrived in a state of disbelief at the scandal unfolding before her eyes. I recounted every detail, every nuance to her, and even she could scarcely believe that the daughter she cherished could be involved in such disgraceful conduct. The very next day, in an effort to restore some semblance of order, my mother sent Tareem away. Even as she left, her desperate pleas begged for secrecy, a final, futile attempt to salvage some honor from the ruins of her reputation. In the aftermath of that fateful incident, I experienced a bittersweet relief. Free from the disruptive influence that Tareem had imposed on my life, the path to my union with Azza began to clear, albeit not without lingering doubts. My paternal relatives eventually granted their approval, and a date for our wedding was set. Yet, the memory of Azza's unexpected phone call and her shocking request continued to cast a long, dark shadow over my happiness. What had once been a clear, unwavering vision of a future filled with hope now became muddied by questions of identity and desire. I found myself tormented by the thought that, if I were unable to meet the new, modern expectations that Azza had voiced, even if they were born out of confusion and an unforeseen longing, our relationship might fracture beyond repair. Desperate for guidance amidst this internal storm, I turned to my longtime friend Nabil. Having spent many years in Saudi Arabia, Nabil had absorbed a wealth of cultural and personal insights that often contrasted sharply with our own traditions. His experiences in the Gulf, where he observed how Arabic women admired the strength and resolve of Pakistani men, offered me a fresh perspective on modern relationships. With a mix of humor and earnest advice, he recalled how, upon his arrival in Saudi Arabia, he had bonded with local Pakistani boys who confided in him the secret to pleasing those refined yet complex Arabic women. They revered a man who exuded both physical prowess and mental fortitude. These stories ignited within me a desire to evolve, to become a man capable of balancing the weight of tradition with the demands of a rapidly changing world. For days on end, I immersed myself in the pursuit of self-improvement. I delved into subjects of health, exercise, and mental conditioning, devouring articles and attending seminars with an intensity that surprised even me. The gym became my sanctuary, a place where I could transform not just my body but also my spirit. I envisioned a future where I would stand as a pillar of strength for Azza, a protector who could shield her from the corrosive influence of modern media. At night, as I sat in quiet reflection, I could not help but recall the tragic tale of Ollie, a once promising friend from university whose life had been derailed by an addiction to online pornography. Ali's slow descent into self-destruction was a stark reminder of how the seductive glow of a screen could erode one's self-respect and derail even the brightest of futures. This painful observation spurred me on, deepening my resolve to confront the dual nature of technology, a tool capable of both wondrous creativity and destructive excess. I began to see the internet not merely as a repository of knowledge, but as a double-edged sword that demanded careful, mindful use. Recognizing this, I dedicated myself to educating others. I organized small gatherings within our community, speaking passionately about the need to balance modern technology with our enduring traditional values. I urged parents to actively engage with their children, to guide them in discerning between constructive digital content and the corrosive allure of explicit media. I stressed that while technology could enrich lives in countless ways, its unchecked use had the potential to erode the moral foundations upon which our society was built. Despite these community efforts, the personal ramifications of that fateful phone call with Azza lingered. Every time I recalled the hesitant tone in her voice, I felt a profound mix of sorrow and responsibility. Her request had not come from a place of caprice. Rather, it was an anguished cry, a reflection of the inner conflict that modernity had forced upon her. In our subsequent conversations, we began to peel back the layers of our fears and hopes. Azza confided in me the oppressive nature of her sheltered life, a life where every action was scrutinized and every desire was repressed. The relentless exposure to sanitized images of womanhood had left her with a deep, aching void, a longing for genuine connection and authentic emotional intimacy that the strict confines of her upbringing had denied her. In turn, I bared my own soul, recounting the constant battle I waged between upholding our cherished traditions and succumbing to the seductive, yet superficial temptations of the modern world. Our late-night discussions became a crucible in which our emotions, fears, and aspirations were fused into a mutual understanding. Each word exchanged was a promise, a vow to support one another in the face of relentless societal pressures and a rapidly evolving digital landscape. We both recognized that our relationship was at a crossroads, caught between the comforting certainties of our past and the uncertain allure of modernity. The day of our wedding arrived like a culmination of both joy and sorrow. Amidst the vibrant celebration, filled with the rich colors of traditional attire, the exuberant laughter of family and friends, and the soulful melodies of age-old songs, there was an undercurrent of solemnity. Every smile, every embrace, was tinged with the weight of unspoken fears and memories of a life filled with hidden scars. As I exchanged vows with Azza, I gazed deeply into her eyes, which shone with both a quiet sorrow and an unwavering hope. In that sacred moment, I vowed not only to love and cherish her but also to be the steadfast guardian of our shared values, a beacon of strength in a world where modernity threatened to upend all that we held dear. In the months that followed, our journey together was punctuated by both moments of bliss and instances of doubt. There were times when the past crept back uninvited, manifesting as fleeting memories of that shocking phone call or as the nagging fear that Azza's unspoken desires might one day overwhelm our traditional bond. Yet with every challenge we sought new ways to reaffirm our commitment to each other. We enrolled in courses on emotional intelligence and conflict resolution, attended community seminars on the responsible use of technology, and even began engaging in open dialogues with other couples about how to reconcile the conflicting demands of modern life with our inherited values. Beyond our personal struggles, my efforts to educate the community gradually began to bear fruit. Parents who had once dismissed the dangers of unchecked digital content started to listen more intently, and community gatherings grew into a vibrant forum for discussing the delicate balance between embracing technology and preserving moral integrity. I recounted my own experiences not with a sense of self-righteousness, but with humility and hope, urging others to learn from the pitfalls that had nearly shattered my world. It was a reminder that every setback could be transformed into an opportunity for growth, every moment of despair into a chance to rediscover the resilient spark of hope that lay within each of us. In this era of rapid change, the battle for one's soul is unceasing. Every day I am confronted with choices. Each small decision, whether to check a notification or to share a moment of silence with a loved one, carries with it the potential to either strengthen or undermine the values I hold dear. The lessons learned from that fateful phone call with Asa serve as a constant reminder that modern temptations, if left unchecked, can slowly erode even the strongest of bonds. Yet, they also remind me of the extraordinary capacity for transformation that lies within the human spirit. With each new sunrise, I renew my commitment to self-improvement, physically, mentally, and spiritually, striving to be the man who can protect not only my own dignity but also the sanctity of the relationships that define my life. As I reflect on the tumultuous journey that brought me to this point, I see clearly how the collision of traditional values with modern influences has reshaped our collective experience. The Internet, with its vast repository of both wisdom and waste, has emerged as a powerful force, a force that can enlighten minds or darken souls. In my community, I have witnessed the tragic consequences of its unchecked power. Young men and women, once full of promise and potential, now adrift in a sea of superficial images and fleeting pleasures. The story of Ollie, whose downfall was orchestrated by an addiction to online pornography, is but one among many. His fate serves as a cautionary tale, a stark illustration of how the digital world, with all its marvels, can also be a harbinger of despair if we fail to engage with it thoughtfully. The journey toward balance is neither linear nor easy. It is marked by moments of profound insight intermingled with bouts of crippling doubt. There are evenings when I find myself sitting quietly, pondering the paradox of our times. How can a tool designed to connect humanity also serve as a conduit for isolation and disintegration? The answer, I have come to realize, lies in our own choices. In every click, every shared image, every conversation, we are shaping a new reality, one that must honor the timeless virtues of integrity, respect, and genuine human connection. I have come to see my life's work as a mission to reclaim the lost art of meaningful dialogue in a world overrun by digital distractions. Every lecture I give, every community meeting I attend, is imbued with the hope that by sharing my own story, I might spark in others the courage to confront their own inner demons. The scars of my past, though painful, have become the very source of my strength, a constant reminder that even amidst the darkest temptations, the human spirit can rise, guided by love, education, and a relentless commitment to truth. Now, as I stand on the threshold of a future that is as unpredictable as it is promising, I remain ever mindful of the delicate balance we must maintain. The digital age, with all its wonders and its perils, will continue to evolve, challenging our values and reshaping our lives in ways we can scarcely imagine. But I hold firm to the belief that by embracing both the lessons of our past and the innovations of the present, we can forge a path that honors our traditions while boldly stepping into the future. In every conversation with Asa, in every community meeting where I share my journey, I stress the importance of vigilance. A vigilance not born of fear, but of a deep-seated respect for the sanctity of human life. I remind my listeners that every new technological breakthrough carries with it the dual promise of progress and peril. Our task, then, is to navigate this brave new world with wisdom and caution, to protect the minds and hearts of our youth from the insidious influence of unchecked digital indulgence. The story of my own transformation, from a man caught between conflicting worlds to one who embraces both tradition and modernity with equal fervor, is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It is a story of redemption, of the power of self-reflection, and of the enduring belief that love and education can light even the darkest paths. As I continue to walk this road, I do so with a firm conviction that every setback is but a prelude to a greater triumph, every moment of despair a stepping stone toward a brighter tomorrow. This is my truth, a narrative woven from threads of joy and sorrow, hope and regret, strength and vulnerability. It is a story meant not only to recount my personal journey but also to serve as a beacon for anyone struggling to reconcile the demands of modern life with the timeless virtues that define our humanity. In sharing these reflections, I invite each reader to pause and consider. In a world teeming with distractions, what legacy do we choose to leave behind? Will we be defined by the fleeting allure of digital pleasures, or will we rise above, guided by the unwavering light of love, integrity, and self-respect? As I look into the future, I remain determined to honor the promise I made on that sacred wedding day, to be not only a devoted husband to Asa but also a stalwart guardian of the values we hold dear. Every day, as I educate, inspire, and learn, I am reminded that the battle for one's soul is ongoing, that the path to true enlightenment is paved with both trials and triumphs. And in that ceaseless struggle, I have found my purpose: to stand as a living testament to the enduring power of love, education, and the unyielding human spirit. In the final analysis, the modern world presents us with a choice between succumbing to the transient allure of superficiality or rising to meet the challenge with a steadfast commitment to our core values. My journey, with all its pain and redemption, is an invitation to choose wisely. For in the end, it is not the technology that defines us, but the strength of our character and the depth of our compassion. And as I continue this lifelong quest to balance the old with the new, I carry with me the hope that, together, we can build a future that honors both the wisdom of our ancestors and the boundless possibilities of tomorrow.